All that can rise, please rise. The second trial of the Supreme Court of Be Creative is now in session. Judge Grooms will be presiding today. Woo!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're now calling the case of Mr. Ronny Bepp versus Miss Kimber Bird. Are both sides ready? All right. We may proceed. Would you like to make appearances, plaintiff?
Permission to make appearances. Good evening, Your Honor. My name is Max, and my co-counsel is Potato and Doc.
Good evening. Good evening, Your Honor. Good evening, Your Honor. All right. Good evening.
And we will be representing the people today in today's trial. Before we begin, we'd like to motion to I don't know what it is.
Would you like the motion to collectively swear in witnesses?
Yes.
All right. The bailiff would go ahead and do that, please.
All witnesses in today's trial, please raise your right hand. Do you affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say, I do.
I do.
Thank you. Witnesses, you may be seated.
The prosecution is ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. The defense?
Permission to make appearances.
Yes.
Good evening, Your Honor. My name is Tanner, and I'm here along with my co-counsel. And
Good evening, gentlemen.
and we will be representing the defendant in today's case. Kimber Bird. Before we begin, we'd like to motion to.
Do you have any motions?
Well,
Are you ready?
ready for the defense, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, counselors. Your teams may be seated. Would the bailiff please swear the jury at this time?
Members of the jury, please raise your right hand. Do each of you affirm that you will fairly try the case before this court and that you will return a true verdict according to the evidence and the instructions of the court? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Miss Bird, how do you, prosecution, you may proceed with the opening statements.
Your Honor.
Plaintiff, sorry. Plaintiff,
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, tonight we are going to prove to you that our own very popular Mr. Ronny Bepp, has claimed that the defendant has made a wild accusation as to what he has done with her beloved cat, that he in fact loved just the same. She had claimed in a Hollywood Uptown report, Ronny stole my pet cat, Jerry the cat, and kept him in a tree-suspended cage for at least 3 days. We are here to prove to you today that he did not traumatize that cat, but in fact, it is the defendant's words that have traumatized Mr. Bepp. Tonight we'll be bringing forth to you 3 different witnesses. First up, we have beloved actor Ronny Bepp. Next, we have Clifford Barks, Esquire. And then we also have for you Miss Missy Lebowski. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Counselor. Defense, you may now proceed with the opening statements.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Miss Bird entered a statement in the Hollywood Uptown Report that Mr. Bepp had stolen her cat and locked him in a cage. The cat was found days later alone in a state of mistreatment and abuse. We have two witnesses. Dr. Rigel is an expert in his field of psychology, and Whitney, her sister, was the first person to find the cat. Mrs. Bird only wanted to bring justice to her poor, helpless cat. Remember, telling the truth is not a crime.
Thank you, Counselor. Prosecution or plaintiff, you may now call your first witness.
We call Mr. Ronny Bepp.
You may proceed when you're ready.
So, you are Mr. Ronny Bepp, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Now, the defendant has claimed that you are untrustworthy with your word and that you've done some, according to her, terrible things to the cat. Would you have anything to say on this?
I wouldn't do this ever. I had a terrible childhood with use of the cat beforehand.
And how is this abuse you viewed on a cat, how has it affected you?
Terribly.
Terribly? Would you say that you're a helper of animals?
Yeah, I would say.
All right. And this trauma, does this have any, who or what may have caused this incident in the past?
My mother.
Mother. She's a very strong figure. And how do you think that she has influenced you to be the person you are today from those terrible actions you've witnessed?
To try and be better than her to animals.
Alright. There was also claims of, as well as being dangled in a cage, you've also been accused of forcefully feeding it a strict diet of bird seeds and crystal Pepsi. What do you have to say on that?
I've never drank crystal Pepsi in my life.
Never. Never in your life. Alright. So, how would you say you felt? Would you say you felt traumatized by what's happened here today?
Yes, never.
No further, Your Honor.
Thank you, Counselor. Does the defense have a cross-examination at this time?
Yes.
So, what motivated you to commit this act?
I was no reason because I was dumb.
Why would you do this to Jerry?
I didn't know.
So we've heard from your friends that you lied about how Miss Bird was abusing her cat. Or joked around about it. Is that true?
No.
Sorry. Do you think that maybe you told your friends about how she abused her cat and then set it up in order to sue her?
No.
No further questions.
I think the record should reflect that, and this one affidavit, he did admit to joking about the defendant abusing their cat and framing him for it at previous times, despite his answers today. In his sworn affidavit, he did admit to that.
Affidavit. So
You said the thing.
remember, today's theme is affidavit. What an affidavit is a sworn and signed statement that was turned in before court today. that with only true facts. So basically what the judge is telling you, jury members, is that in his sworn affidavit for today, it does say that he indeed did make jokes about this. So even though he's answered no on the stand today,
So you're saying that he joked about doing it, but he never did? Is that what you're trying to say?
He joked that Miss Bird would abuse her cat and frame him for it.
Oh, smart move.
Mr. Depp, you're now excused.
Your Honor, with all due respect, I believe you just mispronounced his name. It's Bet, not Depp.
He's incredibly bad.
Can't believe you, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, Counselor.
No, no disrespect. I just wanted to, make sure you were aware.
None taken, sir. The next witness for the plaintiff?
Very confused as where we are. What?
That's what we are, we're thinking.
Okay, I apologize. No. Clifford, I would like to call Clifford to the stand today. Your Honor.
All right, Counselor. The witness is called. The witness may take the stand.
Would you mind stating your name and occupation for the record?
Clifford Barks. Ignore that. Clifford Barks, I am working as an entertainment lawyer for several high-profile clients in the Hollywood industry.
That is quite a profession you have there. In your professional opinion, how would you take and how would this accusation affect Mr. Bepp's professional image?
Well, profession-wise, the statements made about him would kick him out of a lot of the things he would have been working in because of false accusation.
So, in your once again, in your professional opinion, how would the Post, the newspaper of the Hollywood Uptown Report, National Edition, affect the society?
Well, it is a widely circulated paper, and as we all know, widely circulated papers go out to basically anybody who reads them. And usually it's very popular, so people tend to read that kind of thing, so everybody would know about it.
Would you say that Mr. Depp's reputation will have trauma after this?
Absolutely.
That is all I'd like to say.
Thank you, Counselor. Vince, do you have any cross-examination?
Do you know anything about the truth of these statements? Do you know anything about the truth of these statements? I cannot speak to the truth of the statements, but I can very confidently say that they had a very profound impact on his reputation. I cannot speak to the truth of the statements, but I can confidently say that they had a very profound and large impact on his reputation and credibility.
Why are you here?
I'm here to prove that writing a statement like this would destroy his career
Were you compensated at all? No? And does that affect the?
Yes.
I think the record should reflect that the experts in this case were compensated by their respective sides for their roles in today's case.
Okay. Does that affect your view on this case?
Yes?
No further questions?
The witness is excused. Counselors, do you have your final witness?
Yes, I'd like to call Mrs. Missy Lebowski.
Mrs. Lebowski, you may take the stand. You may proceed.
Your name is Mrs. Missy Lebowski, correct?
Correct.
And you are the sister of Mr. Ronny Bepp.
Yes.
And you can recall a time when your mother when Ronny had a cat and your mother had hurt the cat?
Yes, our mother was not the greatest person in the world, especially to animals. You see, Ronny had this cat that he cared for so deeply, but being a child, he had no way to keep this animal safe from the clutches of my mother, and my mother's neglect of the cat eventually led to its death, and this traumatized my poor brother for the rest of his life.
So you would say that he would never hurt a cat?
No, he would never dream of it.
And there's no reason for you to lie about him, about any of this at all?
No.
And you also recall a time when you were visiting your brother and you walked in on the defendant in his room, correct?
Correct. You see, I was just going there to check on my brother when I saw that he wasn't home, so I checked his bedroom where I found the defendant passed out on his bed. And now I've seen drunk people do really weird stuff, but that day I saw the defendant do some things in his bed that I've never seen before. She had eaten dog food with a Japanese soup spoon. Do you know how big Japanese soup spoons are? I can never forget that day.
And you can't make up something like that either.
How would that even come from my brain?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Does the defense have cross-examination for this witness?
Yes.
All right, you may proceed, defense.
I'm sorry, I don't remember some of the details. Is it possible that you still don't remember any details in regarding to this case right now?
I mean, Japanese soup spoon. It's pretty hard to forget.
You claim I took care of every animal we came across, but provide no evidence of any of this ever occurring.
There's also no evidence that my brother ever hurts the animal in the first place that you're talking about.
Talking about his charge.
In his pardon?
Oh.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Never mind. Is the bad experience your brother had still relevant today?
Yes, because it traumatized him. Do you not see that? How
But
can
there's no proof of that traumatization.
we have the... How can you prove trauma?
How can you prove trauma? You have no medical expert confirming this.
I have my experiences and I have my brother's experiences. And that's proof enough for us.
No further questions.
All right, the witness is excused. So with no further questions, the plaintiff now rests its case. Okay. We'll now take a 5-minute break.
All rise. Court will now return to session.
Welcome back, counselors. Everyone may be seated. Thank you for a good first half of our trial. The plaintiff has now rested, so we're now moving on to the defense's case. They can begin with their first witness whenever they're ready. Would the defense like to call their first witness?
Yes.
You may just call your witness to the stand.
Okay, we would like to call Kimber Bird to the stand.
She may take the stand. You may proceed.
So, you're Kimber Bird, right? How was your and Ronnie's relationship?
Well, we met 10 years ago. We had a pretty solid friendship. It had its ups and downs, but you know, every relationship does. And it only started to go sour recently.
When did the relationship get sour?
When Beck would oftentimes say that he would torture my cat.
What was Ronnie's attitudes for the cat?
He never seemed to like the cat very much. The cat had a goofy leg, and he thought that it was not a good cat, but she was a very good girl.
How do you feel about being wrongly accused by Ronnie?
Hurt. That's the only way I can put it. I feel hurt and betrayed.
Why do you think that Ronnie would treat your cat this way?
He was always seemed to be jealous of my career, so he would try to do whatever he could to get at me.
Why were you at Bepp's house?
Because I received a call from my sister that Jerry was missing, and she thought it was at Bepp's house.
I guess nothing further.
Okay, Counselor, does the plaintiff have any cross-examination at this time?
Yes.
You may proceed.
Can you confirm that you did tell Hollywood Uptown Report National Edition that Ronnie stole my pet cat, Jerry the cat, and kept him in a tree-suspended cage for at least 3 days, and also claimed Jerry the cat suffered extreme emotional trauma from the event and was fed only a diet of birdseed and Crystal Pepsi?
Yes, I can confirm that.
Okay. Your affidavit said that Ronnie had taken care of your cat prior to this event, correct?
Yes.
And you also had trusted him to take care of your cat?
Yes.
Okay. Was your sister there to check on Jerry?
Yeah, my sister stayed home. I was away on a business trip.
So she came to your house to check on Jerry?
Yes. And when she saw that Jerry was not there, she immediately called me.
So did you send your sister to check on Jerry because you didn't really trust Ronnie to look after Jerry?
At that point, yes.
At that point, but you had trusted him prior?
Yes.
But you sent your sister to check on Jerry before you found out about him being hurt at all?
Well, you see, this was at the point in our time where our relationship had started to sour. So I sent my sister over to make sure like nothing happened to my cat. And when he was missing, I immediately thought my neighbor, Ronny Bepp, must have taken him.
But you did claim in your affidavit that you didn't really trust him to look after your cat. When he went to watch him, you did really claim in your affidavit that you trusted him.
Well, yeah, at first, but then I saw that he was like acting really suspicious around my cat after I left and put my suitcases in my car, so I was a little suspicious.
Okay. And how can you prove that your cat is traumatized?
Because it hisses whenever I come near it, and I have birds at my house as well, and she hisses whenever she sees the sacks of feed that I give to the birds.
Okay, so then why were you at Mr. Depp's house, passed out in his bed with dog food?
I fail to see how that's relevant to this case.
Because it could imply that you were the one who did that to your own cat.
I fail to see how that's relevant to this case.
Because then that would mean that Mr. Bepp is innocent.
I'll have to instruct the witness to answer the question.
Yeah, but that's like, that was way before this incident, and it's not related to it at all.
But it could imply that you could have been intoxicated or anything like that and had done this to the cat yourself.
And
So why were you in Mr. Depp's house with dog food on his bed, passed out?
he has some dogs. He's also a dog person, and he trusted me to feed them, and I don't know what happened.
Well, Bepp stated outside his affidavit that he doesn't have any dogs.
Well, he told me that he was taking care of some dogs that he found in the neighborhood, so I don't know what he said.
Okay, so you had dog food in Mr. Bepp's house for his non-existent dog. And something happened and you ended up passed out on his bed eating it with a Japanese soup spoon.
Well, to be honest, you know how drunk people are. They don't remember things that well, so I don't see how that.
So you could not remember you doing that to your own cat?
No.
You would remember?
No, I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't remember because I didn't get the cat until I was at least a year sober. What?
Counsel, I think you're almost out of time.
Okay, no further questions.
The witness is excused. Would the defense like to call their next witness?
Yes, I'd like to bring Dr. Rigel to stand.
Please take the stand.
Yeah.
David Rigel. David Rigel.
What's your job?
I work as a actress.
How long have you been a psychiatrist?
I'd say 20 years, yes, 20 years.
Based on your knowledge about Mr. Bepp, what would you diagnose him with?
I would diagnose him with narcissistic personality disorder.
How would that affect the case or change anything we might thought we knew about him?
Well, it would mean that he is manipulative, quick to anger, and it would predispose him to be more likely to harm animals.
Is that prevent him from the truth?
Yes.
Okay, counselor. Does the defense or the plaintiff have a cross-examination at this time?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
So, Dr. Weigel, you stated that you've had a meeting or two with Mr. Bepp, correct?
Yes.
Because in your affidavit, it seems like you've claimed you've attempted to meet with him several times and he's denied every single time. So how do you have the right to claim what mental issues he may have when you have yet to meet with him yourself?
I have met with him quite a few times, I'd say. He's denied me recently and in the past. But every time I see him, it seems like he gives more and more psychotic, I'd
Uh,
say.
I think the record should reflect that in the witness's sworn affidavit, they have never personally met with Mr. Bepp, but they have analyzed many of his recorded productions and performances.
And on that
Councilor
note,
may continue.
thank you, Your Honor. And on that note, actually, so you said that you've analyzed his performances, though, correct?
Yes.
And you believe that based on his acting style and what's happened, you believe that he may be psychotic.
Not psychotic, narcissistic personality disorder. When I say more psychotic, it is trying to say this in words that most people would understand.
And now, Dr. Wright, I promise this is important to the case. It may sound a little ridiculous at first, but I hope you'll stick through. Have you seen Toy Story, Dr. Wright?
Yes, many times.
So obviously you know of the famed actor Tom Hanks, who plays Woody in that film.
I'd say that I have heard of him at the very least.
Do you believe that Tom Hanks would actually push someone out of a window? Or do you think that was simply the character that was written out for him to play? Do you think that simply because he played Sack Jarrow in the hit films Cowboys of the Midwest, that based on that demeanor and how the character, the fictional character acted, that automatically the actor must be the exact same?
I believe that it is much easier to act out the way that a character is in voice acting when you yourself are not like the character than it is in physical acting.
Sure, it would be easier, but it also is possible for it not to be, right? I would say there's even a better chance that most actors, after going through the several background checks and approvals, that they would have to be confirmed to be all well and good to perform in such a major production.
Are you asking a question, Councilor?
Yes, I was going to end with wouldn't you agree, but
Well, yes, there would be many background checks, but not all background checks would work if he denies to meet with a psychiatrist.
fair enough. You also include that because he has denied you, that he clearly must be hiding something. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is he not allowed to have a personal life? People have secrets all the time. And just because someone denies a conversation with someone because they're feeling maybe a little uncomfortable, and as we've discussed, he has gone through a lot of trauma in his childhood, that you think that just agreeing to meet with someone doesn't mean that he's scared or nervous about it, but you personally think that he is hiding a deep, dark secret. Is that correct?
I believe that not so much that he's hiding a deep dark secret, but that his several refusals to meet with me may indicate some sort of hiding.
That's a very question, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilor. The witness is now excused. Thank you for assistance, Taylor. Does the defense have another witness to call?
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to call. Miss Brittany Marquez.
She may take the stand. They may take the stand.
Describe what you saw.
So what happened was, I got a call from my sister to go check on her cat. And so me having plenty of suspicions about Bepp himself, as seeing as time got on, he seemed very big about himself almost. And so I went to the house to check on her cat, gladly because I'm her sister. I would do anything for her. And so I went in the house and I noticed that the cat wasn't anywhere. And I looked around the house everywhere and I couldn't find it until I looked through the window in the backyard, and what shocked me is I can't believe that some a human being would do something to such an adorable, loving cat. It was hanging there from the tree, looking extremely scared, malnourished even. And I went out there to look at it with extreme shock in my face, and I see that it had birdseed, just like pieces of birdseed scattered around the cage, and what looked like it only could drink out of like a puddle of water on the corner of it from like rainwater. But I mean, maybe that's Crystal Pepsi.
Right. How close are you to your sister?
I mean, obviously, growing up with her, I would say I'm one of her best friends. I can trust her more than anybody else I know, and I would, like I said, I would throw myself into an active volcano for her.
Okay, that sounds how much do you know about, how well do you know about Mr. Bepp?
I would say when they first met, that's when I started to know this guy, and I didn't think much at the time, but as it started to become closer friends, I noticed that he was a very strange person. He seemed to be very full of himself, and I can tell you that he did not like that cat. It was, whenever he tried to get near it, he always was jealous of the attention that it got over her sometimes, even though that she gave him plenty of attention as a friend. She was just having to look after her own animal. And so it may be at first shocking to notice that it was hanging from the tree, but I have to say I am not surprised afterwards that he would have done something like that.
Anything you know leading up to the event?
I noticed, of course, that he seemed to be getting very much, even more full of himself, and maybe he's even trying to push my sister away almost, it seemed like, or at least not be open with her, or like dodging questions almost. And so when he seemed to be getting more, he seemed to be more angry at the cat.
How did you feel about that after the event?
Like I said, I was utterly shocked at him, and it has made me just think about like, I can't believe that a person would do something like that.
No further questions.
Thank you, Counselor. Does the plaintiff have a cross-examination?
Yeah.
You may proceed.
She said in an original statement that it might be a Crystal Pepsi. You said it was like a little bit of rainwater, but instead she claims it was Crystal Pepsi. Do you have anything to say on that?
Well, I don't know. All I saw was the live animal being dangled from a tree in a cage with nothing to eat for a few days. I didn't care what it looked like was in the cage. I was just thinking about getting the cat out of the cage.
Well, once you got the cat out of the cage, you would have checked and made sure that at least there had been something in there for the cat to be surviving on, at least.
No, I would have been caring about the cat, and the first thing I would have done was check it. I wouldn't have gone back to the cage after saving this animal. I would have cared for it. I wouldn't have cared about the cage at all.
Well, what about afterwards? Why didn't you go say, hey, jump? My apologies, I'm not good at this.
You're doing great. You may proceed.
Okay, my apologies. But you would have at least talked with your sister, right? You said you called her, but instead, she sent you. Why didn't she go?
Because she was on vacation. As she stated, I was home, and the first thing, as soon as I got it out, as soon as I got the cat out, and as soon as I got her
But
cat
this
out,
was on a
specifically-
suspicion. This was only on a suspicion. On a suspicion, someone thinks about it. No one actually takes action.
Clarify, please.
Oh, sorry, I'm not good at this. My apologies, really. I'm just gonna proceed. Do you think this statement would hurt his career?
Of course, but I believe that any man who locks a living being out of a tree does not deserve to have a career.
Who are you to judge someone on their right and wrongs?
A human being?
Sorry, I meant, my bad, I'm not really thinking straight, I'm nervous. That's it, sorry.
Thank you, counselor. The witness is excused. Considering that, the defense has no more witnesses, correct? All right. We now may proceed with closing arguments. The plaintiff, are you prepared to give your closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Jury members, you can clearly see the defendant is lying, and we have proven that Miss Bird had the written statement about Mr. Depp. You can see that she did, in fact, say that she said to the Hollywood Uptown Report of Ronny stole my pet cat, Jerry the cat, and kept him in a tree, suspended cage for at least 3 days. She also claimed Jerry the cat suffered extreme emotional trauma from the event and was fed only a diet of birdseed and crystal Pepsi. We have proven the statement was false and claimed to be true because we believe that she was intoxicated at the time and she does not remember what she did to her cat, all because she also at the time did not remember what she was doing in Mr. Depp's house with dog food, feeding his unrealistic dogs. And she said something happened and she ended up there, which we also asked her, why would you get a cat? And she said she waited a year sober to get a cat, which also confused even her own people who are in charge of her own clients. Her own clients were even very confused by that statement and said aloud, what? And the statement has clearly damaged the reputation of Mr. Bepp because you have seen that he has lost movie contracts and he is cut from a lot of money from this. And the statement was made with actual malice and recklessness and disregard for the truth because all that the defendant is here for is money. No further anything.
Thank you, counsel. Would the defense now like to proceed with the closing argument? Proceed.
I'm gonna say that Johnny Bepp is clearly a liar. He is out to get Miss Bird here. And Miss Bird is clearly traumatized when he did it. And she went over her. See her? She looks traumatized when you did it. Mr. Bepp over here is just sitting here calmly when he feels like he's won this. Why would he do that?
Do you have anything further?
No.
Okay, counsel. Well, considering that that will be the end of arguments, we'll now conclude the case of Depp v. Bird. Now it's time for the jury to deliberate. Bailiff, I now ask that you lead the jury to the deliberation chambers. Take just a couple of minutes to gather your thoughts, count your votes. Remember, there's a lot at stake here to find the defendant either liable or not liable in this case.
Alright, let's go to the chamber. And we're missing one, right?
Yeah, she was back in.
Five hours later.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
And for the charge of libel, how has the jury ruled?
In the above entitled actions, we find the defendants, Miss Bird, liable for slander and libel.
The jury has ruled the defendant liable, therefore the court finds Miss Bird liable for libel. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
We'll get cheesecakes!